I went to yoga this morning and we worked on the throat chakra. I don't know a lot about chakras, but I know that when there's an issue in one, it means that you're having trouble in that area of your life. And we worked on the throat chakra today, which appropriately usually is about getting things off your chest, being able to speak your truth, things of that nature. This weekend was rough for me. And as we worked on our throat chakra in yoga, I felt this sensation, almost like a gagging and a choking. And it was a little bit discerning for a moment. The yoga teacher, in appropriate timing, came over and gave me an adjustment and almost a small massage in the very moment that I was worrying about what I was coughing up. It's proved true to me so many times this year that we are exactly where we need to be. And this was just another instance. I struggled this weekend with things I couldn't really put a name to, even express an emotion about, but I wasn't speaking my truth. And I felt stuck and stifled. And this morning allowed me to get that out. The sound that resonates with that chakra, she told us, is hum, H-A-M. And I felt so empowered when I chanted it, and just want to give you an example of it on here in case you're needing to work on that chakra. You take your hands to heart center, fingers in the sternum. Exhale all the old air. You take one inhale and then a hum, H-A-M. Two more. After any chanting or any meditation, you want to take a moment just to feel the vibration, to feel the energy, to feel any change that might have taken place. Or just to feel that you think this is bananas, but maybe you feel a little better in your brain. Going back to speaking my truth, I wanted to look at a few things from this weekend. On Saturday, I was in a terrible mood. I don't often describe myself as irritable or irrational, but I felt both. I think I waited too late in the day to eat, as well as consumed too much screen time the day before. I worked on the vlog, I checked social media, I watched a ton of TV on Friday night. And when I woke up on Saturday morning, I had a permanent headache that just wouldn't stop. We decided to go to the farmer's market and meet some of John's family there, which I was looking forward to. But the food options at the farmer's market were not what I had hoped for. I didn't want to spend $8 to $10 on any of the offerings, and it was 10:30 before I had half of a breakfast, and I could just feel bitterness forming in my body. Worst of all, I was taking that bitterness out on John for some reason. He had gone running Saturday morning. He had done his thing. He had found delightful food that made him happy. Everything seemed okay in John world, and things in Megan world were a mess. What's silly is that I could have asked for half of his sandwich. I could have ordered anything that I wanted to eat. I could have taken the day under my wing and done whatever had made me happy, and John would have been on board. But instead, I felt myself grumbling up in my brain, getting frustrated, getting put out, getting sensitive, a little bit whiny, to the point where I eventually hurt his feelings just because I was being so rotten for no reason. I don't like feeling this way. I don't like being this way. And I know that he doesn't appreciate it either. It's not strong for our marriage. It's not good for my mental health. And I think it led me into a tailspin of depression that lasted a good 36 hours. Looking back, I should have just eaten before we left the house. I definitely get hangry. I think it's a word because so many of us get hangry, but why do we wait to eat? I think it's important to have food on hand. There's no reason I couldn't have had a piece of toast with peanut butter or a piece of fruit or something. We have food. We have Cheerios. Again, none of these are delightful options, but they would have prevented me from being a nightmare to myself and my husband. After we got back from the farmer's market, I was still hungry, so I decided to order some food from our local Mexican spot nearby. I wanted John to come with me to pick up the food, but I wouldn't say that, and he wanted to be dropped off at home, given that he'd run 14 miles in the morning. And again, I pouted. When I passed through the parking lot of the Mexican restaurant by myself, I had on Christian radio trying to bring some God and some light into my day. And I passed a presumably homeless man sitting in the parking lot. He was a big overweight man holding a little sign with colored words on it that said no food, no home, need help. And he was holding a cross. And something just pulled on my heartstrings and told me to help him. I don't often give to the homeless, even though it's one of the causes that is really near and dear to my heart. I have cooked food for homeless people in the past and worked with different organizations that help them. And it's always really inspiring to learn their stories. And it's humbling to recognize that this could happen to any of us. And so I think it's so important to get rid of the connotations that are, drugs and alcohol have led them here. It's a human condition and it's a huge problem in this country, and I wanted to help. And I don't have a ton of money to offer, but I was going to get food. And if this man didn't have food, I thought that's what I could offer. Even though our pickup order was ready at the window, I asked to order 2 extra tacos and put them in a separate bag. I got a large water cup and wrote "You Are Loved" on the bag of tacos with some salsa and some napkins. And I moved my car closer to where he was sitting, got out of the car, and walked over. I thought about how John would not love this situation, just because he calls me his Fabergé egg and is always worried about safety. But I felt safe. It was broad daylight, and I felt called to do this. I felt called to deliver someone lunch. After all, I was pouting and hangry in having the epitome of first world problems. And this man was sitting outside in the heat, not sure where he was going to sleep. I walked up and greeted him. "Hey, how are you?" And he said hi back to me. He was holding onto his cross and looking at it, and he showed it to me and told me, "Isn't this beautiful?" And I said, "It is." He told me that he believed in God, and I told him that I believed in God too, and that it was God that had brought me over, and that I wanted to deliver some lunch. The problem was how the rest of the interaction went. It was my goal to treat him like a human, to have a little bit of conversation so it didn't feel like a total handout, and just to hopefully be a little bit of light in this person's day before I went home and ate my own food. But he started digging through a tote bag of paperwork to prove to me that he was in a dire situation. I said, "I don't need to see any documents. I believe you. I just wanted to bring you some lunch. I just wanted to bring you some lunch." "Well, let me show you. I'm getting kicked out of my place." Da 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 da. And he went on and on. And then I started to feel a little bit frustrated. And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, sir. I wanted to bring you some lunch." "Oh, well, you know what I need? I need 2 large for a hotel tonight because I ain't got no place to sleep." I wasn't sure if 2 large meant $200 or $2,000. I think I've settled on $200. But in the moment, I thought he was asking me for all kinds of money, which again, I don't have. And I said, "Well, I don't have any money to give you, sir, but I do have some tacos for you. I thought you would need some lunch." I probably had to offer him the tacos 3 or 4 times before he's ready to take them. He kept telling me that what would really be helpful was a couple hundred bucks. And if God really loved him and I believed in God, I'd give him this extra money. I was at a loss. I wasn't bringing him tacos because I wanted him to be grateful. I just had my own bout with hunger that day, which pales in comparison to what it must feel like to be on the street, and wanted to bring him some food. I began to feel disillusioned because I think that this is often why people don't help those on the side of the road. Finally, eventually, he thanked me for the food, but he kept pressing me for more money for a hotel. And I said, well, I hope this helps. I hope this is a bright spot of your day. Maybe me being here will, bring other goodness your way, will help you get that money, whatever it is you need. I just wanted to deliver you some food. I hope you have a good day. Good luck. And then he said, you know what else would make me feel better? I'd really like a hug. I'm sorry that I don't know where that accent just came from, but it was concerning. In the wake of all this Harvey Weinstein stuff, and we're recognizing how women are treated, I instantly felt like this very small girl talking to this very large man, thinking, what? I'm not much of a hugger anyways, truthfully. I really like husband hugs, a good grandma hug, Hugs of formality are okay, I suppose. But I'm not a big hugger. I don't really like a lot of touching, let alone stranger touching. I was not comfortable. And I said, I don't think so, but I hope you have a good day. Enjoy your lunch. And as I walked back to my car, thinking about the hug comment, I thought, this is exactly why John would tell me not to do these sort of kindness endeavors. Because what if I'd submitted to the hug? What would that have felt like? Where could that have gone? Was I in danger? I believe that humans are humans, but why can't we be humans and get out of our own way sometimes? I just wanted this man to be fed a snack and to feel a little bit loved. And I do hope that he found the money for his evening and that life gets easier for him. But I wish that he had seen the gesture as just a shred of kindness and gone about it that way. I wish he hadn't asked me for a hug. I wish he hadn't multiple times demanded a couple $100s from me and instead had just said thank you for the lunch. As I turned out onto the road, I saw him digging into the bag of tacos. There was only 2 in there. Maybe he rolled his eyes and thought it wasn't enough. Or maybe he thoroughly enjoyed them because this place makes a mean carne asada. Either way, it made me think about a lot of things. It made me think about how fortunate I am and how grateful I am to be fed, to be allowed to be hangry and whiny for no reason and to still be loved and come home to a roof over my head and have the option to make food from the kitchen or go out and get food. It made me glad that I stepped outside of my element to try to help someone. I think we should always be trying to help others. But it also made me understand how giving can be easily thwarted by people's reactions. But what we have to remember is that whether it's a homeless man on the side of the road, a loved one, a family member, an estranged friend, we can't control other people's reactions. We can only control ourselves and the love and heart that we bring to the situation. So in that regard, his reaction is not my concern. If I felt called to do it, then the goodness has been done. And I don't need my ego stroked or my feet kissed because I took 5 minutes out of my day. And I think we have to remember that. And it gets hard sometimes when the relationships are more personal. It gets hard to feel taken for granted. It gets hard to feel like your efforts are not appreciated. But they are, by the world, by the universe, by whatever higher power you believe in, by your personal and self-development. Every good deed, it matters. It matters to someone, even if that someone can't tell you. So don't stop giving. Don't stop loving. Don't stop being hungry. Feed and fuel yourself appropriately with actual food and also with experiences that put you out of your comfort zone and that make you think and that make you feel grateful and that remind you how fortunate you are to be who you are and where you are, even on days that are hard and feel shitty and get a little crazy up in your brain. Seek your truth and speak your truth. And don't let things get all clogged up in here. Ah.